Hi there, it's Chris Spartanson of Peak Prosperity. I'm here with your update. It is August 17th, 2018, a Friday, and wow, what a couple of weeks it's been. You know, I've been writing about things like, well, this week we're talking about the debt crisis and, well, not debt crisis yet, but at least the emerging market crisis, the currency crisis in Turkey. This is spilling over into other areas, possibly. We're seeing Italy, of course, having its own issues going on with its debt levels and spiking yields there. We have lots of warning signs all over the world, particularly in the emerging markets. And this is all saying that, hey, you know, there's some risks out there, but you wouldn't know it from looking at the U.S. markets, which are just bulletproof. And I think we all know why. The game has been rigged for a very, very long time, and it's rigged through the use of these high-frequency and algorithmic trading computers, which are really very simple to control. If you throw money at them, they'll drive the prices of things up. The Federal Reserve has been very, very active in manipulating markets, the price of money. Of course, we all know about that, which is the interest rates that they set. And of course, buying into the mortgage markets because they wanted to stabilize housing. But what they really wanted to do is drive the price of housing back up. If you're watching this from any one of the cities that it is no longer affordable to live in, that's in part due directly to the policy of the Federal Reserve, which said, you know what we'd like to do? We'd like to drive up the price of houses, not because it makes anybody richer. Doesn't. How am I richer if the house I live in goes from 200,000 to 400,000 or 800,000 to 1.6 million? I'm not richer, but I can borrow more against that increased asset value, right? Oh, but I also have to pay more in taxes. It's more expensive to rebuild, I suppose, and ensure that I'm going to have to also pay more in property taxes. And for any of you first-time home buyers, sorry, you know, you just can't afford these things. But meanwhile, the Federal Reserve was also putting you, the homeowners, potentially in a bidding war. With who? Well, with companies like BlackRock, who got insider deals. They were able to have a cost of capital of 1%, and they were outbidding people who were experiencing, say, in Atlanta or in Chicago or other places where they might have bought houses. You might get a mortgage at 4%. How much is a 3% cost of capital? What's the difference? It's huge. It's huge. So the Federal Reserve is funneling money to all their insiders, their buddies. They've got revolving doors going on. And it's a sweet game if you're inside. But if you're not inside the rigged game, what do? Right? Well, it's really, really hard, especially for those of us who can see all the warning signs around us. And these past couple of weeks should have informed every free-thinking, right-minded person that we can't have infinite growth on a finite planet. The heat waves that are enveloping the northern hemisphere, the incredible droughts that are enveloping Australia down there in the southern hemisphere, including, they're in the middle of winter. They're having extraordinary wildfires down there in winter in Australia. So the world is kind of on fire. That should be causing us to go like this pretty severely, but not so much, right? Hey, you know, we got the markets to get jammed higher. Hey, maybe, you know, we'll get this trade deal going with China. Hey, whatever the rumor is, it doesn't matter. Somehow it makes the markets go higher. As I'm recording this, S&P 500 approaching a brand new all-time high. Woo! Shiny stuff. Pay no attention to what's really happening out there in the world, including the fact that the majority of those gains in this rising stock market, which is supposed to make us all feel better, are going to a very small percentage of people. In fact, an increasingly small percentage of people. And don't even get me started on the fact that some of the largest holders of financial assets are the central banks themselves. They just print money out of thin air and then buy stuff with it, and then it goes up in price, and they say, hey, wow, aren't we geniuses? No, it's completely obvious what's happening. But while all that's going on, you know what's not happening? We're not attending to any of the structural things we really need to attend to. So what I wrote about this week is really about the difference between what should happen and what will happen. Now, what should happen is that we should be taking the remaining energy that we're ripping out of the ground violently in the case of fracking and using that to build our new energy infrastructure. What will happen is we're going to rip it out anyway, but use that to support low gas prices and then sell more SUVs and light-duty trucks, which is all Ford selling now. They're like, crap, the sedans. We don't make as much money on that. So the fuel economy standards, going backwards again, right? Not that they were all that great to begin with, right? What should happen is that the Federal Reserve ought to allow market forces to do what they need to do, which is to wipe out all the bad debts that have been taken on, all the stupid business decisions that have been made, those need to go away. And what will happen is the Federal Reserve is going to rescue the markets over and over again because they want to create market stability. What should happen is we should be recognizing that this is a finite planet and we have to evolve into a new paradigm of how we're going to be living, eating, breathing, working, playing on this planet. What will happen is extraordinary defense of business as usual. What should happen is that the media ought to be focusing on stories that are of actual import to you. And what will happen is they're going to tell you about stuff that has no bearing whatsoever. If you're worried about U.S. elections, and you should be because integrity of elections is really important in a democracy, Russians have nothing to do with it. But, you know, you might read, I'm going to guarantee you'll read 100 articles this week if you want to about how we're worried about Russian influence in the 2018 election cycles that are upcoming in November in the United States. It's a big worry, lots of worry. CIA experts talking about it, NSA, former spooks, you know, and there's going to be this huge talk about that. You know what nobody's talking about? We still have electronic voting machines that 11-year-olds can hack. We have central tabulators that have no paper trail so the voting results can get changed, and nobody can even know that it happened. And neither party says boo about that. Neither the Democrats or the Republicans. First clue. So yeah, democracy is really in peril in the United States. And you know why? Because we don't have a secure voting system. You have more security when you go to an ATM at the 7-Eleven and take out $2 to get a slushie. That's got a paper trail. It's awesome. We can track your slushie. Can we tell what happened to your vote? In most cases, in most states, including the swing states, the answer is no, right? So why is it that the media would tell you so much about the concern about the integrity of our democracy when they don't spend a single column inch this year that I've been able to discover, not one article about the fact that the United States still has an election system that completely lacks integrity. You want to know why? Because the mainstream media completely lacks integrity. So that's why I spend all my time trying to get the right information to you, filtering it all out. We're going to have a couple of things coming up that I want to tell you about. The first is this is going out today here on Friday the 17th. It's kind of short order, but on Saturday the 18th, I'm going to be delivering the keynote address at the Solar Fest up at Stratton Mountain in Vermont. It's going to be a 1-hour talk at 5:30. Next up on Sunday, September 16th, Adam Taggart, myself, David Stockman, and now a special guest. We also have our good friend Jim Kunstler is showing up. So that cast of characters, plus as many people as we can fit into this room, we're all going to be there. So if you want to check out this summit, we're going to be going through all the data. We're going to be talking about, you know, we've got David Stockman on the economy, everything he knows from all of his experience, deep experience, understanding where we are in this great story of financial deformation. I'll be covering the environment and also energy issues. And then we've got Jim Kunstler. And as you know, if you've been reading this stuff lately, knocking the cover off the ball about the social aspects of this, which are really important. It's not too strong to begin thinking about terms like civil war. We're already at a civil war operating at one level. The question is, how deep does it go? And for that, you know, we need to talk about that. And that's what that summit's going to be about. So come by, check that out if you want to register for that. That summit link is found right here, or you can find it at peakprosperity.com/NYC. That'll take you to the summit registration page. And then finally, a bunch of us are going off on an experience building adventure, which I think is mostly full at this point in time. There might be a spot or two left. I don't know. So maybe I shouldn't talk about it. But we're going to be going to Front Sight, which is a defensive handgun training course to really get our skills up. I think we've got at least 30 plus people from Peak Prosperity showing up for that. That's going to be in Nevada. That's at the end of September. That's the 28th through October 1st. That's Thursday to Monday. And we're going to be going there and just having a great time and sharpening up our skills around that. So those are the kinds of things we have going on over the next few weeks. And love to see you at any or all of those. Until then, I'm Chris Martinson. I'll see you next time.